KD has a triple-double of monstrous proportions. When you talk about his shooting last night, 16 to 23, 49 points, 17 rebounds, 10 assists. That's a Hall of Fame performance. That's put the team on my shoulders. Let me go do my thing. I give James Harden a lot of credit for playing because he's not right. He is definitely not right. I would be surprised if he plays tomorrow. And I think that they may hold him out for a Game 7. This is how these games got to be played. Having him out there, it helps. But, you could see that his shooting is a lot with your legs as well as your hands and your arms and your ability to shoot.
He was like a decoy last night is what he was.
But he was out there. Yeah. And I give him credit for being out there in a must-win game. But, a lot of this credit goes to Kevin Durant, who basically put the team on his shoulders and said, we're not losing this game. His performance in the second half was just absolutely stunning. And his buddy Jeff Green helped out enormously. Jeff Green, he shot 7 from 8 from threes. That's how you win NBA games, right? It's a make or miss league. You tell me this all the time, and that was it. I mean that now if they go on to win this series, and Kyrie can come back and somehow James Harden can get healthier. Tonight, or last night, I should say, was a defining moment for Kevin Durant. Because that's why you have him, as you said. That was some performance.
Yeah, I wonder if James Harden hadn't started this game, would the Nets have been down so much? Because it almost seemed like they had to learn how to play with Harden being completely ineffective. And then it was midway through the third quarter where they were like, okay, he's just not going to be a part of what we're doing offensively. He can't hit a shot. He's going to be out here just for his basketball IQ. He had a great pass to Durant as Durant got free in the paint, and that was contributing offensively. But I thought to myself, as they were down 14, 17 in the second and third quarter, I said, James Harden should have never played because he's totally useless. And I wonder if this game had gone a different way if he didn't play. And it will be fascinating to see what they do in Game 6. Reggie Miller tweeted after the game, do you rest James Harden and Kevin Durant in Game 6 and then go all the way in Game 7? The fact that question is even being asked just tells you what the NBA is today. I mean, the guy played 46 minutes. If he comes out of that okay and he feels the same as he did going into this Game 5, I would play him because you saw the rust, and it was more than just rust. Obviously, he wasn't healthy. But, I mean, if he could be out there and just facilitate and Kevin Durant can do that again, because who knows, too, the other side of this coin is if James Harden isn't in there, is it tougher for Kevin Durant because they're still paying attention to James Harden? I don't know the answer. I don't know how much of a factor it was that James Harden was out there, but totally ineffective.
Well, I will say that last night, all the pressure was on Kevin Durant.
Yeah,
it was all on him, and he took it. And big time athletes, great players, show up in the biggest of moments and the moments that you need them the most.
I put the team on my back, dude.
That's exactly what he did. That's exactly what he did. But again, I don't want to discount what Jeff Green did last night either.
No.
Jeff Green was awesome. So you got to have a co-chair, if you will.
Sure.
And he had one last night, and it was good for James Harden to show up and he played 46 minutes. My God. That shows you how important this game was to Steve Nash and to Sean Marks and everybody else over there. That you put a guy out there that is I don't know when the whole thing ends, whenever their season does end, whether it's this series, the next series, or the championship series, we'll hear about all the injuries. We'll hear about the swan songs and all that other stuff. But right now, this morning you wake up. If you're a Net fan, you say this is why we invested all this money into these guys, especially into Kevin Durant, because Kevin Durant was just, I'm trying to think. You would know better than I would, and obviously basketball fans that are out there that know Kevin Durant's career and everything, I could say that this is one of the best games he has ever played.
Sure. I mean, and I would think under the circumstances, too, because he did win 2 finals MVPs and was spectacular in back-to-back NBA finals, but he never was in
Steph Curry, Draymond Green, and Klay Thompson.
Right, he was never in this type of situation where
this is
you got 20% of James Harden and a bunch of decent NBA players around you in a Game 5 against a team that's got something to prove that, by the way, you can't take seriously. You just can't take the Bucks seriously.
So on the other side of the flip coin, as you talk about the flip side of the coin, how do you feel if you're the Bucks? I mean, you had this game last night if you wanted it.
How do you feel? You feel like the coach is probably going to go at the end of the season if they lose this series, which I fully expect them to. You wonder about Giannis. I mean, it's not like he was terrible last night, but it's one of those things where if you really are that superstar, if you are a guy like Kevin Durant, you don't let that happen to your team.
No, wait. Stop comparing him to Kevin Durant.
He's
you
not.
can't do that.
I know. The thing is, I'm comparing him to say that he's not Kevin Durant.
Kevin Durant told Jay Williams, "Don't be comparing me to that guy."
You can't compare. It's no comparison.
That guy's not even on the same page. I told you this.
It's true, though. It's true.
It is true.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know why Kevin Durant decided. Maybe he was just messing. Maybe he was just saying, "Come on, man. I'm me. He's him. We know what the deal is here."
Right.
Kevin's a very, I would say, positive and very secure person on the basketball court.
Yeah. Then on Twitter, maybe not so much.
Maybe it's his alter ego. I don't know. But it was one of the great performances. It really was. I mean, you'd have to go back. And like we were talking about, when he was with the Warriors, he had all those great guys, and it was probably a lot easier for him.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't even think about what you said about how Harden being out there probably made it a little bit easier for him. Not a lot.
Yeah.
But, I mean, he made some shots last night that were ridiculous.
Yeah.
Remember when Chris Paul came and beat the Knicks at the end of the season?
Mm-hmm.
And you remember a couple of, the last 3 minutes of the game?
Yeah,
where
just
he
like, how the hell did he make that?
Right. That's how I felt about watching, Kevin Durant last night.
Yeah.
Now, as far as the Islander game is concerned, here's the thing. I thought the officiating last night against both teams was horrific.
Mm-hmm.
The first Islander goal should not have been a goal. Braden Point gets shoved in the back, thrown into Varlamov, and he gets into the penalty box. I mean, come on. That is not a penalty.
It was a penalty on Pellick.
Yes,
that's what
exactly.
it was. It was a cross check in the back.
So, which leads me to my next point. If you watched the game closely last night, there must have been about 50 cross checks.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, 50 cross checks in the back by both teams. So the officials let the game get out of hand. The other thing is on the Palat goal. Yeah, there's 7 guys on the ice. Maybe the 7th isn't really in the play. He's by the bench and he's going to get off the ice. But when you have 6 men on the ice, and you're playing defense against 6 men, you're not expecting a guy to come flying off the bench and going right down the middle of the ice.
Mm-hmm.
You're thinking that guy's not even on the ice.
Yep.
And then, of course, you have the $9.5 million man, Kucherov, who doesn't count against the salary cap during the season in the middle of all this stuff.
No, 3 incredible assists last night.
Right, because this is the way, the NHL wants it. And this is why I was talking about, competitive imbalance.
Yeah.
You could see how good he is and how important he is and what a great player he is and how he is completely dynamic. But the one thing from the Islanders' perspective last night, they didn't give up. Barzal scores a late goal, which is good because that means his goal scoring is continuing. He's still hot. He's still going to obviously be omnipresent. Vasilevsky was ridiculous last night. Made a couple.
That save in the first period.
On Palmieri.
On Palmieri, where it was essentially an open net. The puck was going to go in. He is sprawled out and then makes that glove save as he's heading belly first to the ground. Was unbelievable.
I thought the Islanders also had a couple really bad turnovers. When you play defense and you're
on the first goal,
and your team is playing against a very fast, a very talented, and very prideful team. Like I thought, Tampa would come out last night and it was going to be difficult to beat them.
Well, they came out and played a physical game too.
You can't just wrap the puck around the boards arbitrarily and think that it's going to get out. Mm-hmm. And, Scott Mayfield has been guilty of this. And last night was Pellick was guilty of this. And those bad plays, those nervous plays, and those guys are great. Pellick's a great player. He just made a bad play, made a bad decision. And maybe he was trying to do something. I think he was trying to deflect it off the glass off to one of his players so his players could get the puck out. But when you just kind of arbitrarily wrap it around the boards like that, it's most times it's not going to get out, especially against an aggressive team like Tampa. So Barry Trotz will have these guys ready to go for Game 3. There's no question about that.
Yeah, coming home up 2-0 would have been crazy.
You got what you had to do.
Yeah, you did.
You have home ice advantage now.
Right, you
did what you had to do in the first 2 games, and now you got to come home and you got to play in front of your maniac fans.
Yeah.
Tampa's fans are dead.
No, of course they are. And that's maybe part of that has to do. Well, no, because they didn't even play in front of anybody when they won the Cup last year, so it doesn't even matter. I was going to say sometimes there's a little bit of hey, we won the Cup last year, and this is only the semifinal, and then we'll get all fired up for the Cup. But they're just not the same type of fans. We knew that. But they did. You have to give them credit because they came out. They were accused of being lifeless in game one. They were physical. I mean, Matt was in the middle of everything. He was fighting everybody in the beginning of this game.
His middle name is Skirmish.
I mean, my goodness, Fracas.
Fracas, Skirmish.
Fracas Martin.
Yeah, whatever you want to call him. Yeah, well, but that's the one thing about the Islanders that you do appreciate is that they're not going to back down. They're not. I mean, you mess with any one of their players, they're not backing down.
Yeah.
And that Cal Clutterbuck's a maniac.
Yep.
He's another one. And I don't think Maroon really wanted to fight Matt.
Yeah, it was
he was just trying to hold on to him, and Matt's trying to fight
fest,
him.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what Maroon was doing, but anyway, but that's who the Islanders are. They will drop the gloves, the helmets will come off, and they're going to stick up for each other.
I really dislike the Tampa Bay Lightning. Like, really dislike.
Do you really?
them.
Well, you're an Islander fan. Well, at least right now you are.
I mean, of course I want the Islanders to win. I'm not going to sit there and tell you that I'm a diehard Islander fan because I'm not. I am rooting for them, and I'm into this, and I want them to win. But I just cannot stand the Tampa Bay Lightning. From their broadcast to this whole thing about the bringing Kucherov back, and how annoying is he because he's so good.
Yes.
I mean, it's like the puck is stuck to his stick like a magnet, and it's like a video game with him. He's got it right. Look, he's got eyes at every side of his head. He finds guys,
and by the way, you got to remember now. So he had hip surgery at the end of last season. After they had won the cup, he went in and had hip surgery. So I'm not saying that his injury was disguised or anything. He had a legitimate injury. Hadn't skated at all. Right after that, obviously, had to go through all of his, rehab and getting ready to play. And now he essentially is the one player in the ice who's playing with fresh legs.
Yeah.
And you could see it, and it's up and down the ice. I would bitch even louder if it were the Rangers that had to deal with this, but there is a competitive imbalance with the way that the NHL does their salary cap, and it shouldn't be allowed. I'm not saying that the Tampa Bay Lightning, they're here, but they were able to manipulate their own cap because they could bury $9.5 million of Kucherov's money off the cap at the beginning of the year, not at the trade deadline, at the beginning of the year, which allowed them to keep some of the players like a Tyler Johnson, who's also a little pain in the ass, skating all over the place. He's a good player, but most likely they wouldn't have been able to keep him had Kucherov been healthy and on the team. So I hate it. I hate the way that they do it. I guess if my team benefited from it, then I wouldn't care. And like I said, Chicago did it with Patrick Kane back in 2015.
It's something the NHL has to fix. And the Islanders, unfortunately, just like the other teams Tampa Bay has had to play in this postseason, are going to have to deal with it. But you could just tell, in watching these series from Pittsburgh to Boston to Tampa Bay, when Tampa Bay is on like they were last night, they're just at a different level.
Thank you for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe. And don't forget to hit the red bell so you're notified when we have new content.